to record. Okay. And so I will start us off and I will do a little brief introduction if that's okay.
Okay. Okay. I
So,
expressed, yeah,
so
go ahead.
I'll do a brief introduction and then we'll start there. So welcome everybody to another episode of Pathfinder. My name is Tommy Soares. I'm the Assistant Director of the Purdue Institute of Inflammation, Immunology, and Infectious Disease. And today I have the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Anand Hindupur, Principal Scientist of Molecular Diagnostics at Mira Vista Diagnostics in Indianapolis, Indiana. Welcome, Dr. Hindupur, and thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Dr. Soros, and I really appreciate for your for inviting me to this kind of interaction. And I really love to talk about my background. So basically, I was like very, focused on my academia. So I thought like I would never come to industry. So I was in academia for almost like 18 years at various positions. So I was associate professor in University of Pennsylvania in the Department of Biochemistry. But that journey, like as everyone go through, like I found out my passion very lately, but it's not too late. Like when I was in academics, like I always used to wonder, like what is the final outcome of all this basic knowledge, what I'm learning. So that put me into a different direction. Okay, let me give a try in industry. That's where like my transformation happened from academia to industry. So in industry, I worked for Meridian Bioscience, which is again a molecular diagnostic company. We use
Where
different.
was that? Where
It's
was
called.
that?
It's in Cincinnati,
Okay.
Ohio. Meridian
Okay.
Bioscience. Yeah.
Okay.
And we used a lot of different techniques, like right from isothermal technology to PCRs and all kinds of different molecular technologies. I've been there for like almost 13 years, 12 years rather. So then from there, again, like I thought, okay, it's basically it's an IVD company, so we just make the product and sell it to people. But I want to have a real experience of this clinical testing. So that really made me to look for companies like Mira Vista Diagnostics. So this is kind of an ultimate journey for me, because in R&D we make products and then we test here. So that gives a lot of gratification and all that. So that's my kind of the final thought on my background. So I can.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so, but it's you did your PhD here in the United States?
I did my PhD in India.
Okay.
In National Institute of Mental Health and Neuroscience.
Okay.
So then I came to this country in 1992, did a small postdoc in University of South Florida. And then in 1994, I moved to University of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I've been in University of Pennsylvania for like more than 15 years, almost like 15 years. Yeah. So.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. But then your passion to maybe be more hands-on in the development side of things really led you to start looking for these other opportunities. That's wonderful. Like many of us and like many of the people in our audience, academic or academia was the entry
Right.
into science. And there's a lot of differences between being an academic scientist and being a production scientist in a company like Mira Vista Diagnostics. Tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about that change. I know you were, it seemed to me like you were propelled by your ambition and your dream of being able to touch more the development side, but it's a different beast than developing on an academic bench than developing on a commercial bench.
That's true. That's true. Definitely. So the most important thing I realized is that in industry, it's always a team effort. So that's something I really learned in industry, that team effort is very, very important. And the second most important point is try to be a very articulate in translating your basic knowledge to develop a product. So that is something, another new thing I learned in industry. So how to be creative. In industry, things trickle down, especially the great big ideas trickle down to like people like me from top to bottom. So sometimes it seemed to be impossible, but it poses a big challenge, and that's where like my creativity and my articulation and my knowledge, everything comes into play to make that thing happen. Yeah. So yeah, that's where like I really am so excited to be in industry. So yeah,
that's awesome. And tell me something. It sounds to me like you've essentially just started in your path in industry, right? So I think it would be unfair to say, well, what does it take to succeed in industry if you just started? But have you gotten any advice yet that you have said, oh, I see, this is a little bit different, or this is something I need to listen to because it is different than what the advice that, for example, you've gotten in academia?
That's true. That's true. So the little advice what I got in industry is that, like, one has to be very thick-skinned. So in that sense, like, don't get carried away by anything. Don't get carried away by your success. If somebody comes and tells you on your face, oh, you are a genius, Einstein. So don't get carried away by that. Or if somebody comes and say, oh, you are a failure, you can't do anything. So don't, start crying. So this is very, very important, because a lot of ups and downs. And then the second thing, the good advice I got is that put your 100% effort, and then don't worry about the outcome. So when you have your 100% effort put in anything, like right from your small experiment to managing the team, everything, so finally results will be awesome. So that those two I always keep it in my mind, and then I apply in my industry life. I wish somebody would have given me that kind of advice when I was in academia, but yeah, I didn't get that.
So do you think that looking back, is that the advice that you would give to academics and students, the graduate students, postdocs that are out there listening and watching to this program? What would be that advice?
Yeah, my advice is that, first of all, like, you need to really understand yourself Sometimes it happens early stages of your life, sometimes a little bit later, like thing happened to me. First, like you find out what's your passion. And then the second thing is like, see like what you can do and you can do. So those are very important, your ability. And then based on that, choose your passion, because academia is great, industry is great. It only like based on your passion and then your ability, you choose that, but just don't copy others. If somebody went to academia or somebody went to industry, don't do that. It's only your own judgment and your passion, follow that. And then once you are in any setting, you be productive and be honest, and then try to learn things from your smart peers and then colleagues and all that. So it's like a team playing. It's like very, very important, even in academics, and then, even in industry. But in industry, it's even more. So that's my advice to anyone. Just, first decide like, what's your passion?
That's great. That's really good. And I know sometimes it does take time to find that passion.
Right.
Is there a way to accelerate somebody to be able to find that passion quicker?
Sure, definitely. I mean, like the summer, I mean, for example, like for an undergrad student, if something that kind of, if an undergrad student try to understand his ability and passion, I think these summer programs are very, very good. So from there, they can try in academics and then in industry. So they will at least get into the groove, like, okay, this is what my passion, and probably I might want to go into this direction, some kind of an early stage. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, like, late, like you said, like me, later stages, like I was in academia for 15 years, and then I just realized, like, okay, oh, probably like this is what I should be doing. So that's because, again, like you are thinking that, like, okay, this is too much of basic knowledge I'm gaining here, and so I need to be useful to the society, and then so try to make it some kind of things that needed for the society. So that those are
Sure. And I agree 100% with essentially everything you've been saying, because I think you need to listen to your heart more so than follow people around, like you said. Don't just follow the crowd, but listen to what you like to do, what gets you excited about waking up in the morning and going to do that because you have a new challenge ahead, or you enjoy working with that team of people, and you're working towards something that has some result, has some effect, right? And some measurable outcome. Which again, it's different in academia because we don't necessarily always see the measurable outcome as a product. Our product might be, the publication, or, sometimes even the patent application if we're lucky, right? But so, what is it that you know now that you didn't know when you were in academia, now that you've been exposed, per se?
That's true. Yeah, so the one thing, when I was in academia, actually I didn't know that, like, even in industry, there is kind of a very creative and cutting edge research goes on, and which is very, very important to translate your basic knowledge into a product. So that is something completely quite different from academic research. So it has to be a robust product, and then it has to work in several hands, and it has to be like, you know, addressing some sort of a very important issue in the society. So these are the things I didn't know, honestly, like when I was in academia and all these things. So, but also at the other hand, I mean, if it would be fair to say that I didn't know that like there is a sort of job insecurity in industry too. So, so I wouldn't put that like, you know, industry is like all high, you know, the sweet and known. So there is some kind of a jobs insecurity everyone feels, like, you know, not in day to day, but sometimes. So
Yes.
yeah, so that is another thing I did not know when unless and until I joined the industry, then only I came to know. Right.
Yeah, I think you paint a realistic picture of what it is, and how sometimes there are misconceptions, right? And I want to touch on something that you pointed out, was that there's this misconception that there isn't high tech research being done in a company, that it's very much mundane, optimization. We were speaking to Chris Bailey last week, and if you have to optimize pH, for 5,000 sensors or whatever it might be, I mean, it seems like mundane type research, but what you're saying is that there's also this cutting edge type research that is happening that is very exciting. And I wonder, Dr. Hindupur, if we don't see it because it's more, behind closed doors, and you're not allowed to see really what's going on in that type of research unless you're in that inside that door, right?
True, that's correct. I 100% agree with you. Again, like you said, you know, in industry there are different types of research happen. One is just the research. That is the base. So that's where all the creativity, everything comes into picture. So that's where like you need to do a lot of translational research. Like for example, I would say to find out some kind of a single nucleotide polymorphism, you know, like nowadays, depending on the what companies resources you have. So like company like Miravista doesn't have like high fund next gen sequencing stuff and all that.
Right.
So I need to be very creative to figure out how do we detect these SNPs in the patient population. So what are the the methods I should explore, or maybe I can innovate something so that it will be very easy and also very accurate. So that kind of research is the base. So once that kind of research is done, and then the development starts, and in the development, there will be a lot of mundane things to prove that it works. It
Right.
works in many hands. It works under different conditions. It works
Yes.
like, those kind of things. So that's why to make a product very robust, this basic, whatever your innovation has to be a little bit of mundane, that kind of thing. So that's where like the connection between the development and the research comes in. So they go together. Yeah.
But it is exciting to know that even that mundane research is going towards the development of a product that is going to be out in the market, and you might see it with your own eyes that you created that product, and that's probably really exciting too.
Right.
Tell me something. Uh, what what is it about the teams that makes it successful in industry? We've been hearing a lot about industry and working together as a team, and that is by sheer contrast, sometimes what we do in academia, which is my PhD, right? My dissertation, my project. These are my, experiments, and you take responsibility for your publications. You are first author. The other people helped, but really, so how is it? What do you see now, the success that teams can really have? And maybe what we should really talk about is it worthwhile for us in academia to start seeing how we could be doing more of this together, and forming teams so that we prepare more the next generation of scientists that are going to be working at Mira Vista, for example, to be better prepared?
Sure, definitely. As it like as you mentioned, the team effort and all, it's the most important thing. But however, the ultimate success is something different. So in general, everyone thinks that, okay, oh, you just get these results or what our product into market and in a one go without failures, all kinds of, it's like a very kind of superficial way everyone thinks that. But to be an insider of industry, there are many failures.
Yeah.
So there are many failures, and these are very, very important, these failures, because that puts you in a right path, the entire team also. So I would say, learning something really, really positive out of your failure and translate that, all that positive energy into something useful or a robust um, IVD product or anything, even in drug, something like that. That's more important. So it's just not like industry, it's like something, but definitely one need to have that kind of an experience. What it looks like, the failure in industry, and then all kinds of those things. Yeah, but definitely in academia, I know it's I went through a lot of failures, but like you said, yes, yeah, some successful experiment I translate into a paper or some grant, that would be a great achievement for me. So yeah, but I have seen both the worlds. But in industry, the only thing, the timeline. So within the stipulated timeline, you have to develop and deliver the things. So in academia, you are your own boss. It's your own institute. So that's a huge difference. That's why, like if you are able to work under some kind of a within stipulated time period, that's like really great to be in academics. I mean, in the
Yeah.
industry. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you though, is this learning from failure not really what, I mean, we should all be doing that, because I think that is great advice. And, it's really those moments, and I wouldn't call them failures all the time. Like, you have those moments where you have a conversation with somebody and you say, oh, you leave that conversation, you're walking down 5 minutes later, and you say, why did he say that? You should not have said that. Or, you have those moments where you reflect and you say, oh, maybe I'll do that different next time. And not that it was a failure, but you get hard on yourself and you said, oh, geez, I could have done better and I will do better next time. And it's only those times really that we learn and we change and we decide that we're going to learn from that mistake or that what we call failure. But I think, it's a great point that you make that, we have to learn not only from our successes, but we need to learn also what not to do as much as what to do.
Right, correct. I said the failure in the sense of, bench type experiment.
Yes.
So the one you do some PCR and then nothing shows up. So that's what I call failure. And learning something, and like when you are trying to give some direction to the team and that kind of stuff, always a mistake. Like, by mistake, I say something to my team, and then that might lead to the failure of that one. So I should correct myself. Okay, oh, I made a mistake here, and so that's what, like, I mean, it's kind of the context, like, in which what you see, the kind of a negativity. So that's what I meant. Yeah, exactly.
I understood. And a PCR that constantly does not work is enough to pull your hairs apart. And I totally understand. It's very, very frustrating. But definitely, I wanted to ask you also, since you've been fairly recent in a transition from academia to industry, how was the interview process, and how different is the interview process to get into a industry scientist position compared to, I don't know if you probably went through an interview process in academia. Was it very different, those two?
Exactly, they're two different beasts. So I would call it, because interview is always very, very nerve-wracking thing, especially for
Yes.
the job. So the in academics, it's my personal opinion. I think that, like, I mean, how much you learn and what you can do for us,
Yes.
that is more important in academic. But when it comes to industry, what's your behavior? Are you going to be a team player? Do you
Yes.
respect everyone's decision, or you keep everyone on the same page? Even though you don't have a knowledge, as long as you are a quick learner, you can learn that and you can deliver it. So this is what I always found, like, it's something like completely different ideology here. In industry, it's always like, why they had to be focusing on this kind of, a team player, getting along with everyone. That's what, like, even if when even I'm here in the industry, when I answer anyone, I will ask them, like, okay, oh, tell me any instance where you had to disagree with your boss or colleague or somebody, and like, how did you kind of correct it? See, these
Yes.
kind of behavioral questions, like, I started asking, like, I laugh at myself, but this is something. But because this is where, like, everything, that the idea that's what I said. It's like it trickles down to the bottom.
Yes.
So, like, even if you disagree with that, the idea, but everyone consider that that's your duty to do that with an
Yep.
honest and open-minded, though you
Yeah.
disagree with that. So
Yes.
that's why like everyone is kind of asking this kind of different types of questions. They just don't really poke you with your knowledge, how much you know, whatever. No, not
Yes.
really. Yeah, questions are not on that. It's always your ability to interact with another person and then convince him, that kind of stuff. It's a social behavior questions.
I really like that. That's very insightful, very much insightful into what is the right culture that they're looking for, right? And how they're more interested in people working well together, and those types of questions that really judge more on character than
Exactly.
on expertise.
You are right.
How much training do they provide in industry? Meaning, like once they give you the job, is there a lot of training for how things are done and this and that, what your role is going to be? And is the training also involve technical training for how to use equipment and so on and so forth? How does that work?
True, yeah. The training is very important, especially when most, it's something like that. I know a lot of molecular biology, but I don't know this specific molecular technique. So when anyone hired with the molecular biology knowledge, it doesn't matter whether they don't know this technique or not, because once they join, we are there to train them right from instrumentation to the basic stuff. And then like nobody is kind of asked to do any experiment the day you join. We call this something like an honeymoon period. So you can enjoy your 1 month of your honeymoon period, learning things and then all that.
Right.
So that's like, in that respect, industry is very gracious and very generous. So sometimes some industry, some places, they give you even like 2-3 months to learn and then, be ready. So once you say you commit, okay, I am ready, then the time starts. So that's how it is. And also like the task is like not really multiple tasks. So it's only focused on one initially, what you do. So that way it's easier. This is one task, like, yeah, you can do that. Then you prove yourself, okay, I can do this task. Then you get 2-3 different tasks. So that's how, like, it's always a step by step. And people sometimes I seen like they are kind of little scared about industry, that like, oh my God, I don't have that. I did not use this instrument, that instrument. No,
Yeah.
you don't have to worry. Like, it's only like, you just have to say that, like, I can get along well with everyone.
Yes.
So that is the mantra in industry. So once you are done, then you are really taken care of in terms of training and all that.
I would also think, though, that in balance to you being a good person, being able to be a good citizen that gets along well with other people, in balance to that, they're probably also looking for high productivity, confidence that you can learn anything that comes your way, any challenge that we get. I'm sure I'll be able to learn the techniques and gain the required knowledge to, overcome those challenges. So having a little bit of that quality of, being able to take on the responsibility when it comes up is probably really good to have as well, right?
That's true. And again, like it depends on like what type of position you are being hired. So if this ability to do like the way exactly what you described, that's another higher level. So that's where like they see that kind of qualities. And once you go to that higher level, the training is minimal.
Mhm.
So I told whatever the stuff before, keeping in mind that like all this, new young graduates,
Yes,
the new PhDs and those people. Yeah. So
definitely.
once for me, like when I joined this Meridian Bioscience, um, I got some kind of a training because I knew a lot of these techniques and all that, but not much of instrumentation. So I got some training in a lot of different instrumentation. And then after I came to Mira Vista, my position is completely different. So it's like, the day I joined, I didn't have any training. Nobody
Yeah.
gave me any training or anything. I had to start training people. So that's
That's too
to get
funny.
the job. So that after 3 months, they started expecting, okay, come up with some good idea. Do you have any good ideas? So that kind of thing. So it depends on like what kind of position you are being interviewed.
Sure.
Those kind of things. Yeah, exactly.
Tell me something. What would you miss the most if you were not working in industry today?
Um, Obviously, to be on lighter side, money.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, that's a good one.
So definitely I would be missing, and also important thing is like meticulous planning. So I
Yes.
wouldn't have learned, but for industry, that kind of planning within that particular time, and all that is more important. And also to raise to the occasion, challenge and prove yourself. It's like a litmus test you have to pass. So those are something really industry taught me. Yeah, definitely that is something. In academia, like unless like you are under stress, like not producing, I don't know, papers or grants or whatever is that. So you are under that kind of stress. But here in industry, they say everything is a challenge. Instead of saying, it's a sugar coated stress. It's called a challenge.
Yes. Yes. A challenge. That's right.
Yeah.
And I mean, is it really, do you feel the challenge around? Like everybody feels that challenge? Is it a bit of a culture like, oh, we have a clock, it's ticking, we gotta go, that type of thing?
No, the challenge is always there. And also in academia, sorry, in the industry, if you work more hours, it's kind of a, how can I say that? Like, in academic, you work hard. Oh, this guy is working hard, and that's good. He's working late night, weekends. That's fantastic. Oh,
Yeah.
he's going to produce more. But here, if you are doing that, why are you doing wasting your time? That's one of the important question, because we thought like you can figure it out within whatever that time period.
I
Not
see.
like, yeah, not like struggling. So you are struggling. So
Right.
that's kind of a little bit, how can I say, taken as not not really negative, but like, okay, you are a struggling guy, something like that. It's not in a good sense. So
Yes.
yeah, that's why, like, because there are a lot of evaluations. You have like 6 months evaluation, 1 year evaluation, all this kind of things. Of course, in academics, there is nothing like that. But in industry, those are the important things. Like, so they evaluate you every 6 months and every year. So that this is one of the things, because it's always kind of a push to do things very methodically. They think,
Yes.
okay, oh, you didn't plan your experiments or something. That's why you are prolonging your stuff.
I
So
see.
yeah,
So what you're saying is not that they see you as working harder, but they say that you're a poor planner
exactly,
and
exactly.
you should not be working weekends because you should have planned better.
Better.
Uh, yes. And you should have maybe been more efficient with the use of your time during the time that was allotted,
Perfect.
right?
Perfect. Yeah, you
Yeah.
are right. You are 100%
So
right.
that's interesting because then that means that we could do better at training for project management. We could do better at, as you said, at planning and so on. Is there a particular freedom though that we have in academia that is not so regulated, that creates this type of, I wouldn't call it procrastination, but it's like, like, oh, okay, I'll put a gel on, I'll do a PCR, I'll go to the seminar, type of thing. Is there a way that we can do better as we are preparing ourselves for an industry scientist job that you think could be good?
Right, right. So yeah, this is very, very important. Um, I wouldn't call like it's procrastination, because when I was in academia, like you said, okay, I'm running this gel. Okay, let it run, something like that. But I think what my advice uh, in the mentors in academic world is that, okay, if you are running gel, it takes some 1 hour time. So make best utilization of that 1 hour time,
Yeah.
instead of you doing something and some. So you try to come up with some other idea, or you plan another experiment, something you can at least do something within that 1 hour, or make some your buffer, prepare for
Right.
your. So that kind of thing will definitely give them some kind of an heads up about the industry to take up these challenges. So I think that is the best way to train them. And definitely in industry, people are kind of very serious, um, because, like I said, um, it's a sugar coated stress called the challenge.
Yes.
So it's always there in the back of your head. Okay, I had to be very busy, very productive here.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a mentality you develop automatically. And
Yes.
so the one good thing about industry is that the the biggest advice the HR, the human resource people give you, that you better you know um, balance your work and life. So that's what they say. So
Yeah.
your work is stipulated time, 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, whatever is that. That's your
Right.
work.
Yep.
Don't think about your problems of life and all that. Focus on
Yes.
that. And then
Yes.
once you are out, don't even think about your work, your
That's
company.
Yes.
Just spend that. So that is something I really like in industry, because this is like one good thing I never learned in my academics. So I always used to, compromise my work-life balance. uh, so even like I had to take my kid to doctor for some shots. I would tell my wife, "Co, please oblige me. I had to run some experiments in the lab and that did." So I didn't even know like what kind of shot my kids were getting. So
Right.
that kind of thing, like, yeah, it happened to me a couple of times. So that's my personal experience. So
Yes.
I think, yeah, that is a really eye
There's
opener for me.
I like that a lot. And there's a saying I heard lately, which was, wherever you are, be there.
Right.
Right? Because like, it's very typical, as you said, that when you are at work, you're thinking about where you're going to go on vacation. And then when you're on vacation, you feel guilty about not doing work. And so you start thinking about work. And so you can't relax and you don't do work effectively. So if you are able to be where you are and focus on what you're supposed to be doing where you are, then you're going to be there and you're going to be able to do
Absolutely.
it a little bit more concertedly. Um, those are such great pieces of advice, and they are just awesome. If you were to give one last lecture about the way to live life and make a contribution, what would you think you would say to people?
Um, yeah, like I said, it's always one should know their passion and ability, um, like what they want to do or what they can do or what they can't do. Because sometimes like we just get carried away by uh, lucrative side of industry, um, or maybe the intellectual side of academics. So it's kind of it's always a that thing. So I had that how can I say cultural adjustment. So from transformation of my academic life to industry life, I took almost like a couple of months to set my mindset. So, I mean, it's not like don't get carried away by that, but it always, like I said, it's a passion, like what really you want to do to be
Mhm.
successful. So that is most important. That so don't imitate um, others. Like, so just be honest, be yourself. That's my,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I want to open it. We have one person online that if you wanted to ask a question to Dr. Hindupur, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question. I want to thank you though, Dr. Hindupur, because it's great to have this insight. It's great to have this fresh change. You're going through this change now, and getting a little bit of a glimpse as to how it's been, how this journey has been, is very important for many of our viewers, because as you can imagine, you're a grad student, you're a research scientist, a postdoc, you're deciding, oh, what do I want to do? And it's important to recognize that you have to listen to your heart and you have to figure out what you're passionate about, but also be, steadfast about recognizing there are going to be challenges, but you can always overcome those challenges. You can always do better.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Yes,
Oh,
Smriti, go ahead.
Yeah. Hello?
yeah, thank you so. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and sharing your experience with us. Like, it's really beneficial and instrumental hearing like experience from the other side and kind of hearing it. So currently, I'm a master's student to a PhD, but at the same time, I'm like looking at trying to see different options that are available in the industry just to see whether going directly, like having more work experience in industry would be more beneficial, or whether going directly into the PhD would be a more direct route. One question I do have is, as I'm looking through the different opportunities, like work on job opportunities, I'm seeing that there's like different levels of research associates, like 1, 2, 3, senior research associates, as well as scientist 1, 2, 3, kind of scientist 1, scientist 2, scientist 3. And I noticed that you're a principal scientist. So I guess my question is like, mainly, how is the responsibility of different levels across the spectrum? And like, is there with a master's degree, do you reach like a glass ceiling, like in which like you can only go up to a senior research position, research associate, and you can't become a scientist, and like you would have to go back and earn a PhD in order to like project yourself even further, like in a director or being a director or so on? Like, what is the responsibilities between the different levels? I guess that's my question.
That's fantastic question. This is a really, really important question. You don't have to have even a MS degree. You can even have just an undergrad degree, and you can reach the level of the director of or VP of some R&D. Okay, that's the beauty of industry. So it's you, like, suppose you have this, like you mentioned, different types of job descriptions, like the research associate 1, 2, 3. That so an undergrad basically get hired where like it's kind of a research associate 1, 2, something like that. It's all your ability. If you are a fast learner and honest and then productive, you can get a promotion every year. I did that to my people, some of them. So within 4 or 5 years, you can be a research scientist just with BS degree, where a PhD equivalent to a PhD's candidate job. So it's that. So you don't have to really have to have a PhD where you want to be like, leading some big group or anything. It's only your experience and your ability to do things. That's what they look for. So yeah, so that then really you don't have to, I mean, it's your passion. If somebody wants to have PhD and then more research experience, it's their passion. But even otherwise, as a graduate, one can learn that kind of, the research experience in industry. So that is more appropriate, because this translational research in industry is very much needed, and it's counted as like that is what they call it, like a industry experience. You know what I'm telling? Even if somebody does PhD, still they hold the academic experience, not the industry experience.
Right.
Right.
So it sounds to me like you would be able to gain that promotional value through the company and that experience that you gain through the company.
Okay, no, that sounds excellent. So if I were to ask, like, what is the day-to-day work life in industry as a scientist as opposed to a research associate and principal scientist? Like, is it more the higher you go, more focused on reading and writing up reports, or is it more trying to optimize like an instrument or like in that sense, like day-to-day life?
Right. So the day-to-day life of an research associate, the entry level, is doing a lot of bench work and directed by somebody else, your, say, research scientist, somebody. And then the research scientist is responsible for doing, in day-to-day his own life, like, okay, analyzing the data, and then is that like attending some meetings to present that data to keep everyone on the same page. So that's their life. And then if you go like in my stage, like the principal scientist is somewhat like, it's kind of a director like type of thing. So I have to come up with an products, like, okay, what would be this year we are going to launch? What kind of product? And what the strategy? How should I technically make this kind of an innovation? So these are all my things. So my ideas and everything, I had to present to my bosses, the president of the company or whoever is that, my boss. So then I had to be, keeping them on the same page. So I had this idea. So once I have that is approved, then I will be, that's what I said, the trickle down ideas. So it will trickle down to the research scientist, and then research scientist to the research associates, whatever. So that's how the company structure works. So that's why everyone wants to see how good you are at interacting with each other, understanding the other person and respecting other person's views.
Yeah. I really thank you so much for providing that insight for us and letting us peer a little bit deeper into the world, into your world, into the world of Mira Vista Diagnostics. And thank you so much for taking time to speak to us today. I want to thank everybody for taking time to join us today with Dr. Anand Hindupur, Principal Scientist, Molecular Diagnostics. And please join us next week on Friday at 3:30 when we will host Clinton McKeck from Innovative. Clinton is a scientist one at Innovative. It's a biopharmaceutical company local here as well. Thank you, Dr. Hindupur. Thank you again.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
And I hope to see you again. Take care, everybody. And
just let me know if I have any help for you guys for any way. So I'm
absolutely. Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on LinkedIn? Because I think I searched for you on LinkedIn.
I had to update my LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, we're going to get you on that so that we can connect with you there, and hopefully we can stay in touch.
Thank you.
But thank you so much. Take care. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah, you too. You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.